Welcome everyone, Bill Dow here. I am super excited about this video. And in this video, I want to talk about doing the wrong projects, really competing with your governance structure. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you know I talk about PMO and project management. I want to set the context for this video. It's really about PMO leadership, right? I've been doing this for 20 plus years, running 10 PMOs across 4 companies. So I want to set that context and make sure you're tracking. This is really about from a PMO leadership perspective. So I love this topic, right? Because I see it all the time. I see that executives bypass the governance structure for so many different reasons, right? But why do they do that? And why is that a problem for a PMO leader like yourself? Well, it's a great question. Let me get into that now. First, executives are executives, right? They will have their pet projects and they want something done, they're going to get something done. So when an executive forces their projects to be completed and they bypass any form of governance structure, they're really defeating the whole purpose of why we have a governance structure. That's a huge problem for you as a PMO leader. Number 2, companies can't plan for that. Resource managers can't plan for that. Project managers will struggle when executives come to them and say, hey, you need to manage this pet project of mine. Now, they're not going to call it a pet project, but you know what I mean. Project managers and even PMO managers, right, are put in extremely difficult spots, and they can't say no to executives who want their projects run. They're put in this impossible position. That's a huge problem for a PMO leader. Number 3, the pandemic has put so many companies several years behind. And with every company trying to go as fast as possible and get an edge on their competitors, it just puts a whole new load of projects on the organization. And of course, executives are going to want some of their pet projects ran. Interesting, right? So we've seen as a PMO manager, we have these projects, these problems, right? And we're in this position. But why is that, right? Why do companies skirt when they have governance processes in place? Why do they go past that, right? Well, first, many organizations find that governance structures are too slow, too bloated, right? And they're not serving their needs fast enough. And that's fair, and we've seen that before. When they're sourced and funded, though, outside of governance, they are put them in a position where they actually can run these pet projects to really no one's detriment, right? So if finance gets an X amount of dollars every year, they don't necessarily have to follow governance because they've got X amount of dollars to do projects. So the self-funding of these individual departments is a huge problem, and this is why they're skirting the governance process. Number 2, executives, they want what they want, right? And they don't want to be tied to a formal governance process if it doesn't fit and match their needs. So if you don't have buy-in from your executive leaders, you're going to continue to be in this problem or this situation and this problem, and so you have to really get that enforced. Number 3, again, organizations are 2 to 3 years behind. So they're trying to go as fast as possible. They're trying to get ideas and products out in the market. So it's going to force this level of agility and this level of we got to go fast on our projects. It's a huge problem though, right? So it's a really tough situation. As I talk to my clients and my customers, I'm hearing this across all these different companies. There's just a lot of pet projects going on, even when they have governance structures in place. But what do we do about that? What are some possible solutions? Well, let me get into that now. Wait. Before I do that though, let me ask you a question. Is your company running pet projects? Do you have a governance structure in place, but you have your executives skirting and going past that governance structure because they have their own funds? Comment below. I'd love to hear what you're doing. I'd love to learn from what you guys are doing as well, so we can really better the whole organization as a whole. But let's do this. Let's get into some possible solutions. I would say number 1, executive leadership needs to hold single executives accountable for their actions. Governance structures need to be adhered to, and financial dollars need to be focused on that governance as a whole and on the organization as a whole. When we continue to single fund organizations such as finance, for example, and you give them dollars to do their own projects, they're going to keep bypassing governance structures. So it really takes senior executives to hold executives accountable and hold them to using the governance structure. Number two, governance structures have to be workable. They have to have good scoring, good prioritization. They have to suit the needs of all the executives, or you're going to see them bypass that. So it's really important we have scoring processes in place, we have prioritization processes, we have resource management processes. Everyone's bought in, it's working for everyone, and everyone will agree to use that governance structure. And then finally, resources and resource managers must be empowered to push back. Right? If a random executive comes to a resource and says, you must run my projects, you must do these projects, right? They need to be empowered to push back. They need to be empowered to say, we have a governance structure in place, and I know it's difficult, but we have a governance structure in place, and we really do need to be able to escalate that up and say you need to adhere to the governance structure. Otherwise, we're going to be in a continuous circle, and these pet projects will continue to happen. What do you think? Does that make sense? Just a reminder, if you like these stories and you like this type of context, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, and like the video, because I really appreciate it and I want to keep driving these videos for you. Okay, quick reminder, go watch my next video on PMO resource turnover. It's on my channel. You'll be able to check that out, and we'll really get into why we're seeing such a high level of PMO resources turning over an organization. Thanks again, Build Out here, and I'll see you online.